Thomas Edison was perhaps the finest scientist in the world, with over 1,000 life-changing patents. Also known as the Wizard of Menlo Park, his creativity and genius is apparent. However, there is more to Thomas Edison than his most famous inventions. His failures, his personal life, and his brilliant processes are what make Edison such a fascinating person. Edison was born in Milan, Ohio on February 11, 1847. He was the seventh child of his parents, Samuel Edison Jr. and Nancy Elliott. Edison's father was a jack of all trades, and his mother was a former teacher. As a child, Edison spent only 3 months in school, where he was marked as adult. His mother decided to educate him at home. His mother gave him a science book at the age of 9, where he became fascinated and spent all his money on chemistry materials. At the age of 12, he went to work selling fruit, candy, and newspapers. During his teens, Edison lost his hearing, possibly caused by the scarlet fever he had as a child. Later in his life, his father had to escape from Canada because he took part in the unsuccessful Mackenzie Rebellion of 1837. In 1864, Edison got the opportunity to learn telegraphy. He mastered the art and traveled throughout the country as a telegraph operator. This is where dreams of becoming an inventor grew. In June 1869, Edison moved to New York City to work for an electrical firm. He soon formed his own electrical engineering company. After selling the company, Edison opened an invention factory, a lab for research in Newark, New Jersey. The factory employed as many as 80 researchers, including chemists, physicists, mathematicians, and was in business for 6 years. Later, the AC/DC wars was the feud between Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison, between Edison's DC current and Nikola's alternating current. In his lifetime, Edison won many awards, such as the Sentinel Award at the age of 29, Matsushita Medal, the Franklin Medal, the Congressional Gold Medal, and many others. He even had many medals named after him. Thomas Edison's many successes was with his incandescent light bulb. For years, scientists struggled to find the perfect filament for the light bulb. Thomas Edison was supposedly sitting on his porch with a Japanese fan. He unraveled the handle and carbonized it to use it for the filament. This worked surprisingly well and created the first bamboo filament. In his efforts to make the light bulb, he also had to create a new generator. The previously used ones lost 50 to 70% of the energy, making it nearly useless. Thomas Edison used his vast knowledge of electromagnetivity to create the first electromagnetic generator. And with that, Thomas Edison created the first long-lasting, reliable light bulb that would be used and improved on for centuries later. Another of Edison's genius inventions was the carbon transmitter for the telephone, which was originally created by Alexander Graham Bell. He created this because he believed the most faulty part of the telephone was its transmitter. Bell's original transmitter created electromagnetic waves using a vibrating iron plate. The waves produced were converted into sound at the receiving end. The problem with this was that it was a continuous current. Since the current sent by the transmitter was already weak, it couldn't be used over long distances. Edison discovered that the current changes depending on the density of the carbon it passes through. In Edison's new transmitter, there was a carbon diaphragm where the waves changed resistance according to its strength. This allowed Bell's telephone to be put to use over longer distances. Another is his phonograph. It was the first time that anyone had reproduced sound. To record, it had a stylus that made dots and dashes on the rotating tin cylinder according to sound waves. To play, a lighter stylus was placed back on the tin that traced the lines. Edison's first failure was his first patent at the age of 22. He was trying to create a vote recording machine. Each person would move a switch about their decision and would record it. However, it was a very lethargic machine, giving time for other people to change their votes, so it was rejected. There is a quote by Thomas Edison saying, "I have not failed, I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work." So you can't really say that any of them have been true failures, since he's learned something from them. His most innovative creations must have been a centralized electricity system. It was a never-before-seen thing that first appeared in New York. Edison also created the improved stock ticker. It wasn't new, but it was certainly a lot easier and more reliable. The old stock ticker shafts often got out of sync and didn't print on the same line, so people had to go out and reset the device. Edison's new stock ticker used magnets to keep the shafts in sync. This was a revolutionary device for businesses. Even as a child, Edison loved experimenting with chemicals and science. When he grew up, he even had a laboratory in his basement. Most of his free time was spent experimenting and creating new things. Many of Thomas Edison's beliefs were heavily influenced by Thomas Paine's Age of Reason. Many people said that Edison was an atheist, but he wrote a letter defending himself and saying that he wasn't. Edison's proudest personal moments would be when he married and had children. He was first married to Mary Stilwell and then later Mina Miller. He had 2 daughters and 4 sons. To people today, Thomas Edison would appear to have ADHD, for he had a vivid imagination and many questions. He would be out of place because he never got a formal education, therefore he acted slightly different than other children. Having the brain of a genius, it's natural that he would also stick out in society.